Welcome back to Cooking with Kayla D. I'm Kayla, and this is my husband Randy. My disclaimer. If you haven't done so, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for all the up-to-date episodes as they release. Today we're making tamales. It is Christmas season. Christmas season from any Latin American is tamale season, so let's get to it. For your ingredients, you'll need corn husks and hot water to cover. So first off, you want to do is take your corn husks. You want to open the bag. That is what they look like. You can get them at your local Walmart and many other stores. You go ahead and take them out in pieces. They'll be stuck together. Don't worry about that. Just separate the ones you can separate without tearing them. You stick the stack of corn husk into a bowl of water or a sink full of warm water, and you want to make sure to place them under the water well. Then I'm going to take those ones and move them out, put these in, go ahead and get those drenched in the water. After you get all of your corn husks into the water, you want to place a heavy bowl or plate on top of that to keep them submerged under the water. You are going to be soaking these for up to 2 hours. Now that you have your bowl there, set that aside. We'll work on our filling. We are doing an Instapot recipe. You'll need 2 pounds of chuck roast or any type of beef roast, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion flakes, 1 large bay leaf or 2 small bay leaves, 2 teaspoons of pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 cups of warm water, 1 large can of enchilada sauce. This is your quick, easy Instapot tamale recipe. So after you have your recipes ready, you're gonna get your Instapot and get your roast. I have a smaller Instapot, so I cut my roast in half to fit it in. I put that in there, and then I went ahead and added in my warm water. And once I had all my water in, I went ahead with my garlic powder and my dried onion flakes. You can opt to use fresh garlic and fresh onion if you would like. I put in 2 small bay leaves. I didn't have any large ones left. I went ahead and added in some pepper and some salt. Once I had that in, I went ahead and covered the rest of the water on the top of the meat just to wash those ingredients down into the pot. And then I added my lid on. I turned it, locked it. I put it on seal, and I went ahead and hit the pressure cook button for 1 hour. And now to get into the ingredients for our masa. You'll want to do this while that is cooking. You'll need 1/2 cup of lard, 2 cups of instant corn masa, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of warm water divided, and 1/2 can of your enchilada sauce. And I will show you what I did and also options you can use to replace the lard. If you are not a fan of lard, then you can replace your lard with either cream cheese at room temperature, or you can use coconut oil, virgin coconut oil, as long as it is at this consistency that you see here where it's together. You just don't want to be using oil that's melted or like in a bottle of vegetable oil or olive oil, because then it will not work right. And also you won't want to use butter because butter just is not that good. You can also use that hard Crisco oil if you would like. That works well as well. You'll want to whip this around after you put your lard or your hard oil into a bowl just to aerate it and kind of get it fluffy. So whip that around until you can get that a little fluffy. I did mine for like 2 minutes. Then I start adding in my corn masa. This is gluten-free and it is also organic corn masa. You can find it at your local Walmart, and you can also find it at other select grocery stores. I went ahead and added in my salt and my baking powder. That is going to give us a nice fluffy consistency with our corn masa. While it's cooking, it won't be so heavy. So you go ahead and just squish your masa between your fingers, almost like you're going to be doing a biscuit recipe with the butter. You want to get it to that kind of consistency. So you just continue to squish it up until your masa is combined in well to where it's almost like a gritty texture. I just kept adding more corn masa in until I reached the proper consistency. Every time I added a scoop of masa, I went ahead and completely squished it around and got it combined in with that Crisco or lard oil. Once that's done, I went ahead and added in my water. Now that I had in that first part of my water, I added in a couple of ladles of my enchilada sauce. You want to go ahead and combine that well into your masa. The sauce is just going to give it some extra flavor. Now, if you don't want to put the sauce, you can just do water, but like I rolled it in my hand right there, that's the consistency you want your masa to be. Once your masa is like that and it's not sticking to your hand, but it's not too dry, you are then going to go ahead and form your masa into a ball into the center of your bowl. You want to cover this and then set it aside until your meat is ready, and then you can start filling your tamales. Or that your corn husks are ready and you can go ahead and start applying your masa to your corn husks. And I will also tell you another method of cooking these if you do not want to cook them after you roll them in an Instapot or on the stove top in a bowl and steam them. There is another method to steam them that it only takes 5 minutes. I did not try it myself, but I've seen other videos do it by just placing your corn husk into a foil and crimping it up. You can put it on top of a skillet, 3 minutes on each side, and it's supposed to actually cook it all the way through. I will look for one of those videos and link it in the description area so you can do a quick, easier way of making your tamales, even though this method is pretty quick. So once my Instapot is done, I went ahead and carefully removed my meat and placed it aside so I can shred that. And then I also took my broth and I reserved it because that is really good beef broth, right? You made beef broth. So I put mine into bowls and went ahead and stuck that into the freezer. So now I have homemade beef broth for another recipe later on. But go ahead and get your roast shredded up, and once you have that shredded, I just used 2 forks to do mine. Once you have that shredded, you're gonna go ahead and add in your enchilada sauce to that. Just add in a little at a time until you get the consistency you want. You want to make sure that that meat is pretty soaked in it, but not too runny, because you don't want it to be soupy, but you do want it to just like be wet enough to where it's not going to dry out. Because remember, you're working with corn masa, and corn flour tends to suck in more moisture. It dries out while it's cooking. The fact that you steam them keeps that from happening. So that's why you just want your meat wet. You don't want it to be too soupy. And you can see here how I did mine. I went ahead and added it in and mixed it around to make sure the sauce was well combined into it. And using the enchilada sauce is just an easier method than having to use the dry chilies that we use to make any type of mole sauce, which is what enchilada sauce is. Now, later on, I will be doing another recipe for these tamales where we will be making a homemade chili sauce, but for now, I wanted to show you a quick, easy Instapot version of these. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my masa and I'm going to start making large, almost like meatballs, or like you would make a hamburger patty, but I'm going to make them into balls, and I'm going to get all my balls set aside. So that way when I pull my corn husks out, it's very easy for me to go ahead and start placing these on there and flattening it out for our tamale mixture. I am going to be doing this the more traditional way by using my hands to form it to the corn husk. You can also put your corn husk onto a tortilla press and then place your ball on top of that, and then another corn husk on top of that, or use like a Ziploc bag or something and flatten it out with your tortilla press. That is actually a quicker, easier method. I just did not feel like dealing with it because I didn't have much room on my counter as it is doing it. So this is the way that I did it. I went ahead and emptied my bowl out, washed it out, and I'm going to use that same bowl to put my filled masa in. Now you want to get yourself a corn husk that's slightly large. You don't want it to be too small. As you saw, I took the small ones and stuck them to the side. You want to press this up towards the larger side to where all of the masa is up towards the larger side, about the size of a corn tortilla. And as you can see, I have it spread out like that. You're going to put some meat right into the center. Be generous. You don't want to be skimpy on these. I fold mine in half and press and seal it. Then I go ahead and peel back part of my corn husk, and then I would go ahead and roll it. And you roll it like that, and then you fold the bottom up on the side that has the seal open. And you just stand those up in your bowl until you're ready to cook them. See how I got a larger husk there? That is perfect. I put my pawl down, and then I go ahead and start pressing my masa in and spreading it out. You want to make sure it's an even, consistent layer there as you're pressing it around, and just make sure you do not get it down there in the bottom. We're going to call the bottom our foot. We're going to bend our foot later, so leave that foot empty of the masa, and then you're going to put that in your hand again and go ahead and put some more meat in there. And like I said, you can use a tortilla press. It is a lot easier. Go ahead and seal it up as well as you can. Don't worry if it doesn't seal and sauce comes out. It's all going to work out. Trust me on that. These don't have to be perfect. That's a great thing about tamales. So I got it folded, got it sealed, stuck it to the side. The opening is facing up. You can also take 2 of your smaller corn husks like that and overlap them and go ahead and press your masa into them. There's a lot of small ones that do come in the packages, so I recommend using them as well as you can. Sometimes when you go in to roll them after you put your meat in, sometimes it will split apart, but that's easy. Watch me here and I'll show you how to deal with that. I went ahead and pressed mine together, and when I opened it and went to roll it, oh, it came off, but I just folded it over the end where it came off at, and boom. It was easy. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my rack that came with my Instapot in the bottom, and I'm going to fill it with water right below that rack before it's touching the top of it. That's about where you want it. You want to take a few of your extra corn husks that you did not use to wrap up your tamales, and you want to place them in the bottom, covering the bottom completely to where there's no holes or gaps coming through, so the water's not splashing up as you're cooking these tamales. We're going to pressure cook these, so it takes a lot of time away from like you would do it on the stove. So make sure you cover it good, and you want them the soaked corn husks. Now you're going to lay these in there, and because we sealed them all the way, it's okay to have them kind of laying down. Normally you would stand them straight up, but my Instapot is a smaller one, so I can only fit 4 at a time. I went ahead and stuck my 4 tamales in there, and once I had those in there, I covered them with the corn husks again, because any type of water or moisture that is coming over the top will now not drip into my husks and make them soggy. So you always want to make sure, even when you're cooking on a stovetop, that you put corn husks on the bottom of your pan after you add your water and stuff in, and then you want to put your tamales in and then cover them again with the husk to make sure the steam isn't dripping down on them. So now I have my Instapot closed, and I'm going to go ahead, and I just cooked mine for 13 minutes. I had some leftover rice in my freezer, so I'm going to go ahead and take that and microwave that up, and that is going to be served with our tamales. Today, because it is my husband's first time trying tamales, I am going to make his like enchiladas, since we have the extra enchilada sauce. So once my tamales were done, 13 minutes later, I went ahead and pulled them out. And after I got them pulled out, I unwrapped them. I saved those top corn husk leaves because you're going to use those to cook your additional tamales. If you have a small Instapot or even a large one, but you made more tamales than I did, then you're going to have to cook another batch. But like I said, you're cutting cook time by using these and being able to eat some while you're still cooking. Because normally it takes about an hour to 2 hours to cook tamales on a stovetop. You have to steam them quite a long time. So doing the Instapot version way, you're cutting time. Also using canned sauce versus homemade sauce, you're cutting a lot of time. But as you can see here, I went ahead and got all mine out. I put my corn husk back down, made sure it was completely covered. I checked my water level, see if I had to add any. I didn't. My water is still completely full. Because I'm using Instapot, I'm not really releasing much of that water. So I went ahead and I put in 4 more tamales into my pot. once I had my 4 tamales stacked in the right way, I went ahead and covered them again with the leaves. Be careful not to burn yourselves. Mine cooled down pretty good, so I was able to just go ahead and put them on, but I was careful when touching the pot not to burn myself. So I tucked these in and got those well covered. Once I had that covered, I went ahead and put my lid on, and then again I cooked this again for 13 minutes. Instead of using my pressure button, I just used my rice button on my Instapot, and that worked out really well. I made sure it was on seal, and I pressed rice again and stuck it to the side. Now I'm unwrapping these tamales to go ahead and start eating them while those ones finish. So all you do is just gently grab one end of the corn and then roll it right out and onto your plate. It's that easy and that simple. You can save these husks, rinse them off, and save them to make more tamales, or you can go ahead and just throw them away. It is completely up to you. They don't cost that much at the store, and we don't make them often enough to go ahead and save them. You can also, when you buy corn on the cob, you can save your husks and go ahead and rinse them well and dry them out and bag them up and put them away for storage for when you do want to make some tamales. So I guess we're turning these into tamaladas, tamale enchiladas. Since we had the extra sauce, I went ahead and put sauce on top of our tamales, and then I went ahead and topped them with a lot of grated cheese. You can do this if you would like to too. I melted them in the microwave and then slid them onto our dinner plates. I did this because Randy's only had tamales one at a time. They were bought from someone in California when we were in California. They were really thick with masa, really dried out, hardly had any filling, and he did not like them. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and make tamales because he hasn't had my tamales yet. And I'll make them into like an enchilada just for his first time to see his reaction. Well, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So after I put my cheese and sauce on here, I went ahead and microwaved them for about a minute to melt that cheese really well. Once I had that done, I went ahead and I scraped them off of my paper plate onto my dinner plate, just like that, as you can see. It was very simple, very easy, and now we have tamale enchiladas, which it's going to taste almost just like an enchilada because it's made exactly the same way, except for we steamed our masa instead of heating it up in a skillet into a tortilla way. Then I went ahead and took that rice and the beans that we had left over in the freezer and put that on a plate and served that to him. And he absolutely loved it. So there you go. That's how you make tamales. We did go ahead and eat some the regular way after he had this. The next day we had our leftovers. So I went ahead and just served them just like this, regular way, just cut right into it. And as you can see, after I cut into it and opened it up, look how much meat is in the middle. We do not skimp on the meat. Growing up in California, a lot of people do make it that way because they're just trying to make money. So they put way less meat, more masa. But here, we enjoy that meat. We like equal parts. So we put just as much meat in the middle as there is masa all around the edge. It was a delicious red sauce beef tamale. And we hope you enjoy this recipe and that you try it soon. It was absolutely delicious and easy. And like I said, I'll link that foil stovetop recipe in the description area so you have that availability to you as well.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1.
And as always, we have some beautiful pictures of the sunrise here in Myrtle Beach for you. And we hope that you enjoyed being here on Cooking with Kayla D. We say stay in that kitchen and keep on cooking. God bless. Until next time. For more delicious recipes, we have some more here on the right. And then we also have our channel here on the left where you can subscribe if you haven't already done so, or just go check it out and check out some recipes from our channel. God bless. Adios. Until next time.